Mark Satterfield here. Thanks so much for joining me. Want to talk today a little bit about how to get really well known in your particular niche. Now, without meaning to overstate the obvious, there's a lot of people out there who offer services very similar to yours. So the challenge winds up being, okay, how can I break out of the pack? How can I get extremely well known to the people that can actually hire me? So, good news is that it isn't terribly difficult. Bad news is that it requires a little bit of planning, and like everything in life, it requires some effort. So, there's 6 steps. I wrote them down here. I'm going to share them with you. They're also in the blog that's immediately below this video. So, step number 1 is to choose a niche. Now, you've heard this before, and quite frankly, there's probably a lot of different people, a lot of different niches that you could serve. What you want to do in terms of getting well known is to take this niche by niche. So you want to choose one particular niche, and the more narrowly you can define it, the better. So, for example, suppose you're a personal trainer. I know you're not, but suppose you were. You might say my niche is people who are overweight and want to get in shape. Well, yes, that's true, but that's kind of a big percentage of the population, and it's going to be really, really hard to get known to that particular group. So you want to subdivide it. You might say my niche is women over 40 who want more energy. It might be men who are golfers who want to increase the length of their drive and their flexibility. So the more that you can micro-target a niche, the better. And again, you're going to have multiple niches, but start with one. What we want to do is we want to get very well known in one particular niche category and then expand from there. Okay, so number 2, social media. Got to be present on social media these days, obviously, if you want to become well known. Now, the catch here is that all social media platforms are not the same. If you're going after C-suite executives, if your market is professionals, then LinkedIn makes, of course, the most sense for you. If you're going after, let's say, an older audience that maybe is female-centric, Facebook's going to make a lot of sense. If you're going for a younger demographic, Instagram is good. If you're going after the 18 to 24 niche, then TikTok would be worth exploring. Over time, of course, you'll want to explore a number of different social media platforms, and got distracted by my cat walking by. But again, starting with just one. Now, as far as YouTube goes, my personal belief is that yes, on one hand, YouTube is a social media platform, but what it really is a search engine. It's owned by Google. It's the number 2 search engine after Google. So your strategy there is really to make yourself very prominent when the search results come up. I've done some videos and blogs about that, and you can find those on the site if you're interested in a YouTube specific strategy. Step number 3 is you need to develop a content strategy. So getting well known is all about putting out interesting and relevant content to people. So again, the way that you want to develop this is to first start thinking about, okay, what are the problems that you solve? What are the problems that people have that they ultimately come to you and hire you? And you want to create a list of, let's start with 15. I'm picking that number a little bit arbitrarily, but let's start with 15 and of the problems. Then for each problem, what you want to do is think about, okay, what's a piece of advice or a tactic or a suggestion, something helpful I could offer? That's your initial content strategy. And the advantage of doing this up front is it makes the whole process a lot easier rather than each week trying to figure out, okay, what is it that I want to put out? Number 4, website. Look, you cannot become famous for what you do just on social media. Now, I'll correct that. You can become famous for what you do just on social media, but you can't get a lot of people to actually hire you. The people that just have a presence on social media, they're making their money on advertising. And my bet is that if you're a consultant, an advisor, or an expert, what you're really looking for are paying clients. And if that's the case, then what we have to do is we have to use social media and migrate people from social media onto your website. And on your website, you offer something free so they opt in, so they become a part of your mailing list. And then the messages that you send at that point forward, that's what converts prospects into paying clients. So you need a website. But again, the website is set up very specifically for this particular niche. It calls out that niche in the headline. Attention, golfers who want to increase their strength, their flexibility, and drive the ball 40 yards further. This is important information for you, something along those lines. So, number 4 is your website. Number 5, consistency. The main reason why this doesn't work for people is they give up. Gary Vaynerchuk very famously said, hey, he wrote his blog for 18 months to a readership of probably a number of people he could count on both hands. And it wasn't until after 18 months that the thing exploded. People give up. And that's the number one reason why you don't become famous. So consistency, sticking with it. And Lord knows, I know it's difficult to do when you don't know if you're really reaching anyone, you don't know if anyone has any interest, but you've got to set a time frame. So let's say you set a year of consistently putting out information, consistently executing this strategy against a specific niche. And, if you do all this stuff, you will become very well known within that niche, and then you can expand from that. But the worst thing is after 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, you all of a sudden give up. And then it's all for naught. So consistency. 6, and finally, have an opinion. Have a certain, flag or belief that you communicate. You cannot break out of the pack. You cannot become well known if you're just offering information that's the same old, same old. You got to have, as Dan Kennedy says, you got to be a little bit outrageous. You got to have a personality. You got to be willing to put yourself forward. That's the reason why video is so key. Video doesn't have to be big production numbers. I mean, good Lord, I've been doing this for years, and you can tell that, the investment in this is, basically my computer. There's nothing particularly slick about this, but what it does is it accelerates the know, like, and trust. Some people will say, yeah, he's my kind of guy. Some people will say, no, he's not. That's fine. But what you're doing is you're coming across with your real authentic voice, and having that authentic voice that is different than other people's voices is key. One of the biggest mistakes I ever made was I remember looking at the gurus when I was starting out, and I tried to imitate them. And then I just became a pale shade of them, and it just didn't work. The other thing is, don't be afraid to voice an opinion that is different than other people's. What are other people doing wrong? What are the misconceptions that people have? What are the things that people believe that just ain't so, as Mark Twain would say? So if you follow those 6 steps, and you deploy them against a very specific niche, you can become extremely well known to a target audience in a short period of time. So I hope you found this helpful. As always, if you'd like to talk it through and discuss about how this would apply to you and your business, I'm always happy to chat with you. There's a box at the bottom of this page that will enable you to set that up. But until this time, once again, thank you so much for being a part of my community. This is Mark Satterfield. Bye for now.